Hello everyone, this is Kalyan from Blackbox Tech, and in today's episode I'll be going to discuss about offline first approach. So what is offline first approach? So in this approach the application will be built with all the features which runs on without internet or with internet. That means your application should be capable of running all the features without internet, and basically all the data will be stored in user system, and whenever there is internet available then it will replicate or sync with your actual database resides on your cloud or server. So whenever there is no internet, your application still should function, and whenever there is internet available it will going to sync. So we'll be using today svelte or svelte in our application JavaScript framework and our library, and then we'll be using Couchdb, which is Apache Couchdb, and for client side we'll be going to use PouchDB. So PouchDB is a library which act as a local database, and it's capable of syncing the data with your Couchdb which is in your server. So without further ado, let's get started. So first thing first, I have created a small application which is just a bare bone HTML and CSS. So as you can see in this layout, so it's have two part. One is this address form, so where basically we'll add name and phone number and hit submit, and this data will be going to store in our Couchdb local DB, and this list will be populated whenever you submit, as well as whenever there is internet available. Couchdb going to send this data to our Apache Couchdb database. So what we need to do? First we need to install Couchdb. So if you going to couchdbapache.org, it's a downloadable, so you can download if you are using Windows or Mac, or you are in Linux distros, then you can download the exact version from there. So I am using Mac OS, so if you hit download it will be going to give you an application. So I've already installed, so whenever you install it will start running on your local host 5984 ports, and you can see this page. So first thing, you need to enable CORS here, because you can call from any of the port or IP address. So I'll be going to settings and then CORS section, and I will hit enable CORS, and I will enable for all domains. So basically you need to restrict specific domains where you will actually be calling. So for my example I'm going to enable all the domains. So you can see this core is now enabled. Now you are ready to go. So next thing, I will create a database. So I'm hit create database. I'm naming it address book, and hit create. So it will give a blank database here. Now let's move into our application. So as you see, I have a list component. So basically this is the list and ULLI. So I'll be going to loop this part whenever I get the data from our local PouchDB endpoint. So these things, and then within and then the right part, which is address form. So that is basically a simple form. You can see this is the form, and there is a two input text type, two inputs, one is for name and one is for phone number, and then we have a submit button here, input type submit. So basically this is our layout. So let's jump into the coding part. So what I'm going to do, so the first thing, whenever someone hits submit, we should create a function which will work and will get the data from that form and send it to our PouchDB local database, right? So let's jump into that. So for a moment I'm just stopping my server because I need to install the PouchDB browser here. So let install npm install PouchDB browser and click save. So it will be installed as well as add a entry to your package. Let's verify that. So I will going to go on and the PouchDB browser version is added here. So now I will move again to my address from .elsevelt. So it is nothing, the script tag. I have just imported our list component here and I have added that in the beginning. So this is our list component and this is basically our plain form. So if someone hit the submit, we should first because like if a barebone form, whenever you hit submit, it generally refreshes the browser, so we need to restrict that, and also our method should get triggered. So what I'll do, I will go into this form and then on submit. So if someone submits the form, first I will do prevent default. So this is the first thing I have to do. So if someone hits submit, we need to do prevent default, and as well as I want to run a method here. So for an example, give a name of add contact. So this is the method I want to run whenever someone hits the form button. So now let's move to our script. Let's create some variables here. So first of all, I will hold all the contacts in an array. So let create a variable called contacts, and that will be an array. And we have one first name field and one phone number field. So we'll get the value from that element. So let create two variables. So let first name, and that will be a string, and also let phone number, and that is also basically a string. So with that, let's create our first method. So async function add contact, pass the event, and let's first create an object, because we'll from this form we are expecting to create an object, and that will store in our local PouchDB database, right? So create a constant, and I'll give a name of new contact, and what we're going to create within that, I will have a key of name, and I will put the value of first name, and then I will create another key called phone, and I will create a phone number key. So give these two things, bind this value with our actual field. Let's go there. So this is our first input for name. So this value I will be binding bind value, and this will be our first name. And also let's go to the phone number field. We'll do the same, bind value, and this will be binded with our phone number. Okay, so along with that, whenever someone hits the button of submit button, I'm expecting this object going to create. And let's do a console for now, and try to check this new contact constant. I'm expecting here it will log a object. So let's run our dev server. And one more important thing, So before start this, please remember to clone the Webpack version of the Svelte starter, because I have tried to do the same thing with our rollup.js template, but there was some glitches, so I have used the Webpack version. So now go to this our address field application, hit refresh. I will open my console. I'll put some name and some phone number. So yes, so this object has been logged and there is no page refresh because we have prevent default, and which will restrict the form to refresh our page. So here is the name and phone number, and this object is ready to be added into our local PouchDB. Okay, so let's do the next step. We want it to send it to our local database, so let's do that. So the next step is very simple. I'm just commenting out this part, and for PouchDB it's very easy to send your data object into your PouchDB storage because we have already used PouchDB browser. So let's import that first. We have some configuration to do, so let's import PouchDB from PouchDB browser, and then we'll create a new instance of our PouchDB. So give a name of let db equal to new PouchDB and pass our db here. Okay, so we can use this variable here. So now let's go where we have created our object, and what we'll do, because it's an async, so we'll create another constant here. So constant, so let's name it send to db equal to, so this need to be await db dot post, and what we'll do, we'll post our new contact. So that means whenever this object created, I will send that to our with this method db.post. PouchDB has a method called post, so db.post, and we'll be passing our object. So this object should go inside our local DB. So let's try out that. So I've just refresh name Kalyan and then put some phone number. I'll hit submit. So you can see this value is still there, that we can actually fix very easily. But before that, let's go to our application console, and here we can check our IndexedDB. You can see there is a PouchDB instance has been created here. So PouchDB and by sequence, yeah. So if you go by sequence, you can see the first value has been stored, Kalyan, and this, and there is a revision ID as well. So it will be automatically creating for you for every revision here. So if you hover over this object, so name, phone number and revision. So that's it. That means our configuration is working here. Let's move on to our next part. So the next part, I need to clear out these things. So that is very easy. So once this is done, we are sent to our PouchDB. What we'll do, we'll just use our first name and make it blank, so someone can fill the next step, and also the phone number will be blank string, so it will be cleared out so that user can fill it out again. So now we have successfully sent the data to our PouchDB. So what we need to do, next thing, we need to get the data back from our PouchDB, so we can pass that to our list component, and list component can show that, right? So So for that we need to create another method. So let's do that. So here I'll be going to create another method, and I will give that method name to update contact. And in update contact, so PouchDB has a method called all docs, which will return all the documents from your PouchDB instance. So let's create a constant and give it name of all contact, and then await, and db is our variable name, so db dot all docs, and these all docs will return your every document. But remember, we need to pass a property include docs true, without which it will just return you the ID, not the complete object. So include underscore docs colon, so include docs true. So when this method will run, it will get back the object, and then what we'll do, this object will return a row, and that object or the value we are looking for, that will be stored in our doc. So let's do the next part. So we'll have already declared a array of contacts, right? So we need to store all the data inside that. So let's do that. Contacts equal to this all contact, and then we'll have rows which will map to our row dot doc. So that's basically this contacts will now have the actual or data object name and phone number, which will be going to use. Just put a console here and log the contacts. Okay, but this method we have not used it yet. So what we're going to do, we'll be using another method called onMount, which is provided by Svelte. So let's use that. So I will be importing import So onMount basically triggers when your application generally mount, or you can say this is the initialize time, first load, page load. So we can try it out. So let's, so onMount I will do async, and then I'll simply await and then hit the update contact. So that means on page refresh we'll be triggering this update contact, and this update contact method will pull the data stored in our local PouchDB instance. So with that, as you see, the page already refreshed for the first time, and it is already get the data back from our PouchDB. So whenever you refresh, you will get the first value. And also if you add again, so another method, hit submit. Okay, so the page has not been refreshed, right? So we need to refresh it manually. So refresh, and then you have two data, so 0 index of the new one and then the colon. So we got back the two data stored in our PouchDB instance. So the next thing we need to do, whenever someone submit, we also need to trigger this update method, so it's instantly get back the data and pass to our list component. So let's do that. So here in add contact, what we're going to do, so we can check like if the send is successful or the post is successful, and that we can do by using if send to db dot OK. So this will return an OK status out of different other properties. So you can actually check with that if send to db dot is OK, and then what we'll do, we'll simply await and hit the update contact method, so with which just test it out. So we are expecting now not a page refresh, but whenever I will hit a submit, it should get the value back again from the PouchDB. So let's add test one. We had two objects earlier, now it should be 3. So submit and I'll get back the 3, right? So it's pretty simple. So now with that, we are complete from this address book for perspective. We need to pass this data to our list component, so we can actually show on every submit this data. So our list component is here, so list, and I will just say contacts equal to, I'll just bind with the variable, but you need to make sure this contacts, this should be exported in your list component, otherwise it will not work. So let's go back to our list component now and declare a export late contacts. So this way we'll get back the value in our list component, which is we are passing from our address from svelte component. Okay, so now it is time to loop through the data which is available in array. So I will just keep this one list item and I will remove all this list item because this is going to generate dynamically, and I will put simply put and each loop, so this will basically a loop I will use. So basically I will write has each, and then contacts, I will looping the contacts array. So contacts, and every item will be used as contact. Okay, so I'm each contacts as contact, a single contact, and it will loop this list element. Okay, so and these two value I will fill. So it will have contact, this is the variable I've taken for each item, so contact dot name, and this will be filled with contact dot phone. So this is the two key which is there, and this each loop we need to end here, so slash each, that's it. So this is, now we will see like this item will actually will be there. Let's refresh our page, and you can see this already it is loaded this 3 object, right, three item, and try it with another one. So let test 4 give some numbers, and it should add here. That's it. So now a full-fledged local DB specific application is running. Now the next big task, we need to sync the data with our online CouchDB database. So the database, if you remember, we have created a database called address book, but it is right now not in use. So we need to make sure this application is connected with our actual CouchDB database, and this data is always in sync. So for that, let's go back to our address from again. Here let db PouchDB. What I'll do, I will work here. So I will be replicating this data back to our CouchDB from PouchDB, right? So let's create a constant and give it a name of replicate. Okay, so replicate, and we'll be using a method which is exposed by PouchDB called sync. So we'll be using this PouchDB.sync. Okay, and sync accept arguments. So the first argument will pass our this db as a string, and the second argument will be the address where your CouchDB is running. So in our case it is running on 127.0.0.1.5.9.8 port. Okay, and I will use that as a string, and our database name is address book. Okay, so that's it. So if you remember, this database name is address book. And now I will just pass some parameters, so or properties. So first one is live, so it will be true, and the second it will always retry if it's failed, it will retry whenever the application comes online. It will try to replicate that time, so it will try always. Okay, so now when that is there, so if the data is successfully sync your CouchDB, then the next item we need to check with some method. So that is the change. So whenever there is a change, we can get that change method. So on, we'll use this change, and what we need to do, we need to run our update method, right? So async and then function. So let's pass this value, and we'll await and then run our update contacts. Okay, so there is a spelling mistake, that's why it's complaining. Okay, so now whenever there is a change, it will get the data back, and again it will run this update contact, so it will update our list element. And in case of an error, we'll also check that. So in case of error, so we'll also have a function which will get the error, and then simply do a console.log. Let's say there is an error in sync, and we'll pass the error. Okay, so that's it. Now we should expect all our data should be synced with our CouchDB. So PouchDB and CouchDB should be always in sync. So let's try it out. I will hit refresh. Okay, so first one we had created a that was a different, so that's why it's created a new one with the correct name. So let's remove that, my fault, so there was a spelling mistake. Let's remove that because it's created a correct one with our correct configuration. So you can see there is 4 items, it's all stored in our CouchDB. Now let's try with that. So let's this is a 4 item, right? And let's create another one. Okay, now what I'll do, I will simply make our application offline. Okay, so go to network tab, I will clean out everything, and then from online I will make it offline. Let's see what it is doing. So you can see that our application is working, and as so you can see there is no data still. Now I will again come online. So now we have 5 data. Okay, and now if I go back to our database, you can see now it is synced up with the 5, and it is there. The last thing, whenever someone add this, we want some animations, right? So let's do that. Before that, I will going to this application, and I will just remove this database so it's cleaned. Select all, delete, so there is no sync. Now hit refresh, so there is no data right now, but whenever someone hit create, I want this, there's some animation there. So what I'll do, I'll just simply import the animation thing. I will import a transition. So I will import fade from svelte transition. So this fade, using this fade is very easy. Now I will going to go in our list and pass transition to fade, and that's it. So now it just refresh. What is the error? Reload prevented, cannot resolved. Oh, again spelling mistake. So is svelte. There is a spelling mistake here as well. So transition. See, now this transition is working now. Test 1 and hit submit. So there is a small transition and this data has been added. Let's go to our address book database. You can see there is a 3 docs. That means both are working in sync. And here, so that's our applications with offline first approach. So application is running an offline and then it's syncing with our actual database in the server. So that's it. I hope you like it. Please do subscribe my channel and share and subscribe. Thank you.